For those of you who are unaware, a couple years ago, back during Minecraft Live 2021, there was a mob vote, which are now discontinued due to popular demand. In the mob vote, there were 3 particular mobs that stood out above the rest. The mobs were the Glare, the Allay, and the Copper Golem. And the mob that eventually won was the Allay. And then just a couple months ago, at the time of me recording this, the Copper Golem was added in the Copper Age drop. And then a thought occurred into my mind, what if the Glare had its own drop in the game? So I brainstormed a ton of ideas on a piece of paper, which I am going to read out to you guys. And these are the behavioral traits that I think the Glare should have in the game. So the spawn location of glares should obviously be in lush caves, because the way that the glare looked in the teaser showed that it looked like it would have been made of moss. So the lush caves were, a natural place that glares could potentially spawn in. And the item that it likes to eat is glowberries, because it's an item that the player can eat, and it's a natural vegetation that is in the lush caves, so it makes sense. I think it should have about 12 HP. The glare looks very similar to the size of a block, and the spider is also really close to that, but it's a little bit bigger and has 16 HP as a result. Its attitude, I think it should be a passive mob, not neutral, not hostile, just a normal passive mob that you find in the lush caves. And I wrote down 4 key behaviors that I think the glare should have. Runs from mobs if they're on fire takes twice as much fire damage than other mobs. Reason being is because the glare is made of vegetation, and vegetation is easily flammable. So naturally the glare would not want to stick around like fiery places and stuff. Not breedable, but can be tamed with glowberries. Feeding a tamed glare glowberries will make it emit a light level of 15. I think it could be a pretty handy feature that the glare could have. It's very similar to having like a light pet in Terraria, where if you're like exploring a cave and if you're not like holding torches out, then the light pet like will reveal where you are, which I think could be pretty handy when you are exploring caves and you run out of torches. You just need to bring a glowberries, feed it to a glare, and the glare will light your way. And obviously I put its intended behavior that was announced in the Minecraft Live. Will tend to hover around blocks that can spawn monsters if it's dark enough for them to do so. This was its original behavior, and Mojang said that it would emit an angry noise when it does detect a spot that monsters can indeed spawn in. I mean, Java players naturally have access to the F3 menu, but for Bedrock Edition players, this would be pretty handy, I would say, since Bedrock players don't have access to F3 and all the debug information. And then its 4th and final behavior, avoids nether portals, lava, and other sources of fire. Just like how piglins and hoglins will run away from portals or respawn anchors, is pretty much the vice versa, where it doesn't want to go into the nether. So now you may be wondering, Gurgules, well, these are pretty interesting features, if you guys think so, that is. But what about further additions? Since in the Copper Age drop, the Copper Golem was added, but there were a lot of new copper items introduced along with the Copper Golem. I have added a bunch of other ideas down. I think the glowberries should be a potion ingredient for a couple of new potions. It should be used for Potion of Glow, which gives you the current glow effect that exists in the game. But instead of it giving you like an outline when you do have the effect, I think it should have you and other mobs display a light level of 15. Just like if you feed glowberries to a glare. And then if you put a fermented spider eye into it, you can make like a total opposite potion called a Potion of Blindness. This would make How Did We Get Here a little bit easier, since you won't have to eat a suspicious stew with blindness in it. And I personally think, since spectral arrows are the current source of the glow status effect in the game, I think spectral arrows should be removed and replaced with arrows of glowing, where you take a lingering potion of glow and then surround it with 8 arrows to make 8 arrows of glowing, and that's how you get the glow status effect from arrows. And personally, I think spectral arrows should be removed because spectral arrows take up glowstone, and there's really no other way you can get the glow status effect, if that makes sense. And I just think spectral arrows are kind of like a really unnecessary item in the game anyway. And then this idea came into my mind. Now, this doesn't involve the glare at all. This is like an entire separate thing. But I think if sniffers were able to sniff seeds from crimson and warped nylium, they should be able to sniff out unique seeds, which when you plant and bone meal them, produce flowers that produces particles that you would find in the nether. So you could bring it into the overworld and you can make like really atmospheric building. Or like, imagine you have like a flower that's like that, but it produces basalt delta particles, so you could bring that into the overworld and have like volcanic particles and make like custom biomes feel more alive, basically. That would be another feature included in the glare drop. I don't have a name for this yet, but I'm just gonna call it the glare drop for now. If Mojang is listening to this, I'll let them have the rights to name the drop. But guys, what do you think if the copper golem was added recently in a drop and the Allay won the mob vote? Do you really think the glare should have its own future drop in the game? Let me know in the comments below. I'd be very interested to know your opinions. But that is going to be all for me right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, comment below your thoughts and ideas about this. Be sure to check out my Discord server. Link is in the description. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care and have a good rest of your day.